Welcome everyone. It's Marci Mearns here, and I am very happy to be with you today, this morning here in California. It's 9 a.m. And today what we're going to talk about are tips for managing your rubrics and clipboards in the RadarOpus program. Before we get started, I've chatted out and I just want to see if anyone or everyone can see me, can hear me. Hello, hello. I don't know if I've disabled your chats. Okay, somebody's got their hand raised. Good deal. Okay, everyone's raising their hand. Does that mean you can all see me and hear me? Yeah, I think so. Okay. You know, I didn't set up this meeting, so I'm a bit curious as to the settings as far as chatting and so on is concerned. I would like everybody to be able to chat if possible. But I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that. Oh, it's in Q&A. It looks like your chats are disabled. Yeah, chat not enabled. Well, that's a bummer. I don't want to waste our valuable time. Let me see if I can find a way to Can you all hear me though? Do you put your see who can hear me? Everybody can hear me, right? Yeah. Otherwise you wouldn't be telling me that. Oh, okay. You can hear and see me. Someone wrote. Well, I don't know how you chatted that, but that's good. Okay. Excellent. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. And again, I want to welcome everyone here today. And what I want to say about today's presentation is I'm going to kind of buzz through things. We're going to go quickly because I have a lot of information I want to cover. And if you have questions at the end of the presentation here, I'm going to be putting up a screen which will show you how to get a hold of me. And I am also going to be making available via our RadarOpus customer support a PDF of this presentation, as well as the case that we're going to do today with the rubrics and all of that. So you'll have some reference materials and you can get back to us if you have questions or concerns. Okay, so we've got an hour and 15 minutes on the clock, and I'm going to jump right in. I will be watching to see if, let me see. Let me just again, I apologize for the chat being disabled, and I wish I knew how to enable the chat. But since I don't, okay, I'm going to just click off all of your questions. So I will see a question if you pop one in there, and we may or may not pause to have a look at those. Okay. Oh. Ay. Yeah, this technology sometimes, you know one thing, but you don't know it all. Okay, so once again, welcome everyone to Tips for Managing Rubrics and Clipboards with RadarOpus program. So our agenda for the day is as follows. Bear with me as we go through the keyboard and mouse shortcuts. This is going to be some technical information. I think it's really important that you take a few minutes to get to know your keyboard and your mouse and what it can do. That's a big part of what I'm going to be showing you today. Please don't bother looking over this right now. Just take in the broad presentation and know that here you are going to receive, whether you have a Mac keyboard or whether you have a PC keyboard, you're going to receive this information, as you can see, in the PDF. So you'll be able to go back and practice this stuff later. I suggest you just sort of sit back and watch, and many of you probably are already using some of these shortcuts, but if you're not, I think it's important to go over them. So we're going to talk about those shortcuts really quickly, but more importantly, the biggest part of our presentation today is going to be through a case example. And with that example, I'm going to demonstrate a lot of what you see here listed on the screen. And within this process, you will see how you can practically apply the keyboard and mouse shortcuts and how important it is to learn to use them, because the whole idea is to get around without fussing too much. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and let's rock and roll. So you've got your, I use a Mac. This is the keyboard I'm most familiar with. Always been using a Mac for years and years with these things. And you see highlighted on the screen here, the essential keys that you need to know. On a PC, these would be the corresponding keys to the best of my knowledge. I worked really hard to pull this together, and hopefully these are the keys that work for you. I know that there are variations of keyboards, so you may find some differences on yours, but by and large, these are the keyboards that you're going to come across and the essential keys for you. Now, I have created a chart of what I believe to be the most important keyboard and key and mouse combinations, the things that you will commit to memory, and they'll just become a part of how you use your program. Now, this looks really like a lot of information, yeah? So don't worry too much about it. Now, I will say, let's go to the next screen here. If you want the full list of shortcuts in your RadarOpus program, let's have a look. Up here at the help menu, you will see a link for the shortcuts list. And when you click that link, you're going to get a giant PDF, and it's literally, I think, 11 or 12 pages worth of shortcuts. I don't exactly recommend it. To be honest with you, if you will stick with this little list that I've created for you, and we're going to go through this, you'll have everything you need. There's so many shortcuts that, you know, your brain will fry. So I've tried to condense things down to just what you need to easily and quickly access the information and move your rubrics around as you choose. Okay, so that's going to be our keyboard and mouse combos that we're going to be looking at today. Let me point out one thing right now, because I don't think we're going to have much time to look at this. This group 3 down here at the bottom of the page, now, first column is on your Windows keyboard, second column would be on your Mac keyboard. Same thing, it's the F5 key. It works globally anywhere in your program that opens your advanced search window. You all, if you've worked with me before, you know that I'm a big proponent of the advanced search window. I don't use really any other search window, nor do I recommend that you be bothered with it. So if you use the F5 key on your keyboard, that's going to pop open for you. Likewise, the F8 key is going to open your analysis window where you'll be able to see all of your clipboards with the remedies included. And that's, again, anywhere, anytime you're in your program, your F8 key is going to open that analysis window with all the clipboards displayed. So these you just commit to memory. As well, when it comes to saving and recalling a case, you may also remember, if you've been with me before, that I do the very simple form of saving and recalling cases. This is not using the patient module of the program. This is simply to save and recall a case. It's either going to be Command R or window, the little window key for recalling a case that you've previously saved, or to save a case. So these you're going to probably have already memorized. And then we're going to go through these other couple of groups as we have time here today. Okay. So again, you can download the full shortcuts list. If you're a glutton for punishment, there you go. And finally, I've captured a couple of the screenshots for your right mouse click menus. Okay. And we've got 2 primary places where I take the right mouse click menu. Okay. And I've given you screenshots here of them. Let's just go to the program and I'll show you what I mean. So when I point to a clipboard, you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner here, I have my mouse now pointing to a clipboard. When I right click, I get that menu. Okay, so this is an important menu for you to know that it exists. There are lots of things you can do from this menu. All right, let's just use the escape key to close that out. And let's now open up one of the clipboards. Well, and I'm going to have to wait till I get a rubric on the clipboard before I can show you that other right click menu. This other right mouse click menu will appear when you have rubrics on a clipboard and you point to one of the rubrics. You're going to get some options for handling those rubrics with this second right mouse click menu. So you will get used to using the right click on your mouse. If you don't know how to set that up, you can check with a colleague or a friend, and you should be able to, you need your right click. Okay, so get that set up. Not now, but when you have some time, if you're not used to using it, because you'll find that it's one of your best friends. Okay, so with all of that being said, let me just have a quick glance. Okay, I see nothing in Q&A, so we're going to rock on to our case of the day. And again, I'm giving you this case as an opportunity for us to practice some not just repertorization skills, but manipulating things around the clipboards and so on and so forth, which is our purpose for today. Okay. So here's the case, and I've done some highlighting, which is going to help us when it comes time to repertorize the case. Now, I will say that my assumption is you've got some experience under your belt, so you know where to look in the repertory for your symptoms. Obviously, if you don't know where to look, or this happens very often with me, if I don't know where to find a symptom or the best language for a patient symptom, I'm going to have to use my advanced search function to help me focus in on the rubrics. But in this instance, I'm just going to go ahead and type my way right into these rubrics, and we will see. Hopefully this will unfold for you. Okay, so very quickly, the case, this is a young man, 13 years old, and he said apparently he injured himself, but he didn't do anything that could have hurt his back, neck, or shoulders, but he's in quite a bit of pain. Okay, hurts to lie down, hurts to sit up straight. Basically, it hurts all the time. And he said there's extra pain if I try to bend my upper body. It's a dull soreness up to his hairline in the back and across or on both shoulders. Okay. I said, what happened? Well, he'd been doing some random stuff, the usual stuff. Kid lives on a ranch and works pretty hard physically. So he wasn't doing anything unusual. They had gone to a horse show. They had flown there, and then they drove all the way back to California from Utah. And it sounds like he was kind of packed in the car. But let's continue with the case. So I said, tell me a little more about the pain. It's very tight pain. And again, turning his neck or bending or anything like that. It's stiff. It felt better after a warm shower, but that relief didn't last very much. So I want to know, do you have a best position? No, none. What's worse? Moving, especially any sort. Here we go again with the bending side to side, turning the body to the right or the left. It's much worse turning to the left. I can't turn my lower body to the left. Okay. So that is the first bit of our case. And let us now go to our repertoire. So I've highlighted what I consider to be some important symptoms here. And again, you're going to get a copy of this PDF, including the rubrics that I've used. Okay. So you'll be able to recreate this thing for yourself if and when you so choose. And again, that should be made available to you from orders. So let's close this analysis window. And what I'm going to suggest that you do here, we're going to focus on the synthesis Adonis. Okay, this is the newest, best repertory that's available, the most comprehensive. If you don't have Adonis, obviously you could use your Treasure Edition, but I'm actually quite happy with this repertory. I recreated the case in my new synthesis Adonis, and it comes out really nice. So there are a few things that we'll be able to observe as we go along. Okay, now what I've done is I have divided this first part of this case. So that was just part one of the case of backache. And what I've done is I have chosen to break my symptoms down for the back into 3 different clipboards. I'm going to use a clipboard for the type of pain. Remember, it's tight, it's stiff, there's tension. Yeah, it's a dull pain. Then we have, I see you guys have raised hands. I'll get to you in a sec. We have a location for the pain, and then we have some modalities for the pain. So we're going to create 3 separate clipboards for those. Now I see some raised hands. Let me see how we're going to be able to handle the raised hands. Yeah, the problem is, I don't know if you guys can chat. There's this Q&A thing, no open questions. Are you able to type questions? Ay. So previously, people were able to send questions. All the questions so far have been answered. So those of you who had your hand up, if you want to try typing something, please do so. Otherwise, I'm going to lower everybody's hands. And I apologize for this chat business. But here we go. There, I can type, but I don't have a question yet. Thank you, Kristen. Beautiful. Okay. Again, what I really want to do is I want to bang through this, because I'll tell you what, if we can get all the way through this case, we're going to have a lot of information for you. So just bear with me, and we're going to work up this case. So if you recall, the type of pain was he had a dull soreness, it's stiff, it's very tight. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of those types of pain onto my first clipboard. Now, notice I've got a check mark on this first clipboard here. That check mark means that's the default keyboard. Now, I want to show you something, and you'll find this on your charts. If I move my mouse to a different keyboard, clipboard, and I press and hold the Option key on my Mac keyboard, and I click, you'll notice that now I'm just doing it again. I'm moving that default keyboard around, a clipboard around. Notice how easy it is. I just keep my finger on that Option key, and as I do, I'm able to designate different default clipboards. You'll see in a moment why this is useful. Okay, so that's going to be a little skill you're going to want to think about getting for yourself. And again, I've got lots of clipboards here because I have a version of the program that allows me to have lots of clipboards. If you don't display as many as I do, which is 12 is the max here. Again, remember this right click. If I right click by pointing to a clipboard, I have the option down here at the bottom to, in my case, I'm going to put fewer clipboards, and you notice, see, they start to disappear. I can say fewer clipboards, and they're going away. So let's put them back in. I'm a fan of lots of clipboards. Okay, can't have too many clipboards. If you have a smaller package, you may not have access to as many clipboards, but in my view, more clipboards is better and worth the investment in an engine upgrade if you don't have them. But that's another topic. So who's the Q&A? Okay, type answer. No, I'm not going to type an answer, sorry. Okay. All right, so let's get into it here. What do we have? Dull pain. So I've got my synthesis. Adonis is the only open repertory. You'll see in a moment why I think this is important. But what I'm going to do is I want to go to the back. So I'm just going to start typing back. I'm in the back chapter, pain, press enter. And what kind of a pain is it? Dull pain. As soon as the little hand is pointing to the rubric I want, I can press the enter key. And I've gone straight to that rubric in the clipboard. Now, the next shortcut that you're going to want to familiarize yourself with is the equal sign. So what I do in the upper right-hand corner of my keyboard, that's circled on your chart, when I press the equal sign, whoops. Okay, see that little hand? Let me go up with my up arrow. Now the little hand is pointing where I want, the dull pain. If I press the equal sign, voila. That clipboard, that rubric goes straight on to my default clipboard. Okay, you see why I want that to be the default clipboard? Let's go back to our synthesis. So I've got back pain, dull pain. Okay, now what do I also have? I have back stiffness. Okay, enter, and I enter again to go straight to that. That's a huge rubric, isn't it? No problem. We know our remedy's got to be in there. So I'm just going to press the enter key. I'm sorry, not the enter key, the equal, to take that rubric into my default clipboard. Okay, so far so good. Now, let's go to the back tension. Okay. Now, you'll notice that I'm in the back chapter. My little hand is pointing to stiffness. If I use the delete or the backspace key in the upper right-hand corner of my keyboard, I'm going to go back to that navigation window. I went back to back stiffness, right? If I hit the delete or backspace keys again, I can now I'm back in the back chapter. I'll just go tension, boom, hit enter, and back tension, enter. There's my rubric. Okay, I'm going to use the equal key to add that onto my clipboard. But I want to be a little more specific. Now, I like to go all the way into the repertoire. You've heard me say that before. And here's why. Because I like to look around a little bit. And if you'll notice, I've got another rubric over here in the lower right-hand corner that says cervical region. When I click here, I've got my full rubric here, back tension in the cervical region. Well, didn't he say that? It goes all the way up the back of the neck, blah, blah. Let's throw that on there. Okay. Now, these are a lot of rubrics for one thing, but that's okay. Bear with me. And you know what? I just think I'm going to snoop a little bit further. He didn't say it's his lower back exactly, but we know he talked about his upper back. I'm going to go for the dorsal region as well. So let me get back to my navigation window. Delete or backspace opens up the navigation window. Delete again, got rid of cervical region. And now DOR, there's my dorsal region. I'm going to hit the enter key, enter again to go to the repertoire. There's my rubric. I'm going to take that with the equal sign. And now I've got, let's see what we did. This is our back pain type of pain. I could, if I wanted to, let's right click and let us, where is that? Change clipboard name. Type of, whoops, let's do a little neater. Come on, Marci, type of pain. Okay. So now this will just help me remember. You don't have to do that. I don't usually, but there you go. Now, I've got an awful lot of giant rubrics here. So is this helpful? Maybe, maybe not. What I don't like is the fact that I've got 3 different kinds of back tension here. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to narrow things down a bit. You'll notice the analysis setting that I use as a standard, which is available right here under the little chess piece, is sum of symptoms sorted by degrees. What does that mean? Let's take a look at Sinusifuga. It means that Sinusifuga appears in all 5 of my rubrics. And if you take a sum total of the degrees in each rubric, it's going to come up to 12. That's why Sinusifuga is at the top of my list. Russ Talks is also in all 5 rubrics, but the score is not quite as high when you add these up as it is for Sinusifuga. And that's how this order is determined. Now, how many remedies do we have that cover all 5 of our symptoms? Well, we've got 21. When we get down here to Illumina, we'll notice our Illumina doesn't have the dull pain, does it? So it's got a 4 here covering 4 rubrics. We're not going to spend too much time on the analysis part right now. But what I want you to notice, what we say, we have 21, but let's make a group because I've got way too much back tension here, don't I? So to select the rubrics on our clipboard so that we can group them into a group, we're effectively going to create, instead of having 3 kinds of tension, we're just going to have one giant tension situation. Okay, so I'm going to use my mouse to select the first rubric. Now, the next important piece, and you'll find this on your cheat sheet for the keystrokes, is to use the command key on your keyboard if you're a Mac user. If not, PC, the corresponding key. Now, to select the next rubric, as long as I have my finger on the command key, I can continue to select. Okay, and I'm going to select all 3 of these ones that say back tension. Now I've taken my finger off of that key. And I am going to right click for my contextual menu. Here's that little menu we were referring to earlier. And what I want to do is I want to group or combine rubrics. Okay, so when I click here, let's open up that window. Now, I do not like, as a rule, to combine all the rubrics into one because I'm going to lose. In this case, I would lose knowing the details about the cervical and dorsal region. So what I want to do is just combine them for the purpose of the program without them disappearing. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to do what's called grouping. It's selected here at the top with all remedies. So I'm going to combine all the remedies, and I'm going to select the first letter of the alphabet that comes in my list, and I'm going to combine. Now, let's see what this does to our analysis. Okay, I've now got how many rubrics according to the analysis model we're using? I've just got 3. So you'll notice Simicifuga still appears in back pain, dull pain, back stiffness, and our combined rubric for tension. Okay, let's take a look at Cantharis, for example. Cantharis also appears in 3 rubrics, but you'll notice it doesn't have the tension in the dorsal region here. That's okay. It's still been allowed through the gate because it's here for the back tension in the cervical region. So we like this specificity here. That's why I'm doing this kind of combining and not mushing them all together into one rubric. Okay, so there is our back type of pain. Okay, so we are going to bang on through to the next clipboard. So I'm going to go back over to my clipboards, and I'm going to use that option click so I can designate a new default clipboard. Okay, you'll see why in a moment. Let's get back to our repertory, and let's like have a peek at our case. Okay, because what I did for this second clipboard is I wanted to get in that idea of the pain. You know, we always want modalities as much as we can, or extensions. Yeah, so this is going to be for the extensions. Where is that? In my back and both shoulders. You know, so I did a bit of interpretation here, and I said, this is pain in the back extending to the shoulders. Okay, I wanted to include that as an option in my analysis. The next clipboard I'm going to do is going to have those modalities about the bending and the heat and so on. Okay, but let's go to the back pain location, the extending. So back to my repertory. I've got back. Now I'm already pointing to tension in the dorsal region. Remember, I can just use the delete or the backspace key. So backspace, my navigation window comes up, and I'm going to go back. Now pain extending to, isn't this fantastic? Look at that. Shoulders. Oh, look, back pain extending to shoulder. Enter, enter, and there's a rubric with 14 remedies. Probably not enough to prescribe on, but it's not a bad start. Now, remember how we take that symptom really quickly is we just press the equal key and watch what happens. That symptom is going to go to my new default clipboard right here. Okay, I've still got clipboard 1 with the type of pain, but now I'm just putting my extending stuff in here. Okay, back to the repertory. And I found I had a little trouble locating the kind of extending to the shoulders that I wanted. So what I decided to do is go to a trusty search. Now, let me close that out. Remember that we can use our F5 key on the keyboard to open up our advanced search window. Okay, I'm going to go over here to search words, and I'm going to search back, and I'm going to search extending. Did I do that right? No, I didn't. There we go. Back extending. Okay, and I want to search. Now, here's why I don't have a ton of repertories open, because all I'm using is the synthesis Adonis, and I don't want to get mixed up my search results with a lot of stuff. So you'll notice that in my search parameters here, I have selected search in open repertories only. I could search in all repertories, but then I'm going to start to get more than I really want. So I've just said all open repertories. Okay, this is just going to kind of speed things up a bit. And I'm now getting my results for the search for the words back and extending in Adonis. And oh, there's just too much, isn't there? Back extending. You know what? I got to put extending to the shoulder, don't I? Because what did I get? 1,463 results, not so good. Let's put shoulder, which is what we actually want, right? Enter, enter. Let's do the search. That's better. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a little cheating here, and I'm just going to go down here. Here's the one we already used, back pain extending to shoulder. Yeah, but there might be some other good stuff, and I'm kind of glancing at the size of the rubrics as well. Now, look at here. Back pain cervical region extending. Look, here we go. Back pain cervical region extending to shoulder. Check the box. Okay. When I've checked that box, believe it or not, from right here, fingers crossed, if I press that equal key, notice that that rubric got added to our clipboard from right there. Okay, let's go back to our results of search. I'm going to uncheck the box. Just, I think I can leave that checked. Let's, oops, yeah. And I'm going to go down one more, just a little more. And you know what? I'm going to tell you that I had some back tension, which is what he has. He's got cervical stiffness, cervical tension, cervical region, extended shoulder. Boom, right there. 8 remedies. Is that going to find our solve the case? Probably not. But you know, I kind of like that. So again, using the plus sign, going to throw that right up onto our clipboard for us. So now I'm on clipboard 2, and here's our extending to the shoulder. Okay. So let's step back and take a look at this one for just a minute. I've got 3 relatively small rubrics. Well, this is not bad. Back pain, cervical region extending to shoulder. Let's double click and look at that in the repertory. You would think that our remedy is in here. But, you know, to be on the safe side, let's go back to our clipboard. Let's take all 3 of these. So I'm going, if you remember, to select the rubrics, because I'm going to put them all in a group. So I'm going to click 1, and I'm going to press and hold my command key to select the next bunch. When I've got all the rubrics selected for my group, I'm going to right click. I'm going to group or combine rubrics. Now, do I want the same group that I had last time? No. Remember, our first group was group A. So this one, I'm going to call it group B. So I don't want to, if I add them to group A, the program is going to get confused, even though they're on different clipboards, that each group has got to have its own letter. Okay, so let's just combine those. And they're now acting as one single rubric with back extending to shoulder. The pain, the tension, doesn't matter. It's from the back extending to the shoulder. Now, that press and hold the command key allows us to select multiple options for our display. So I've got clipboard 2 displaying here now. If I want to show clipboard 1, I'm just going to put my finger on the control or the command key. And if I click clipboard 1, it's going to appear now. So now I've got, thus far, here's our case. Okay, and I've got how many rubrics total? Just 4. Okay, if I we'll talk more about the selecting and deselecting with that command key in just a moment. Let's designate a new default clipboard for our final set of modalities. When I've done this next set, then I'll go ahead and take a look at your question. Okay, so select the default clipboard, pressing the option key and clicking the keyboard. I'm sorry, the clipboard. Let's go back to our repertory and whoops, my other, there we go. We've got some modalities. That's the bending and the twisting and the bending and the twisting, right? That's the big thing. We've got the bending, it's worse to the left, and the warm shower. I'm going to create 3 sort of mondo rubrics, if you will, to cover that stuff. Okay. And I'm going to do that using the search, just like we did here. Now I'm going to erase and start over. Here's my little eraser. And the first one is going to be the back, the bend, ag. Okay, back. Actually, I'm going to put bending. I'm not sure that I need to, but I'm going to do that anyway. Aggravates and searching and open repertories only. Okay, new technique. Instead of, this says I've got 146 rubrics here. Yeah, 146 results that all pertain to back bending aggravates. No specifics, don't really care. This is a new trick for you. If we will point our mouse to any of these rubrics and right click, there's an option here that says take all rubrics, so all 146, and create a new combined rubric. Okay, let's see what happens. Watch this. Just going to do that real quick. So that's the results of my search. And what's happened here is on this third clipboard, I've got a new rubric and they're giving me an option to rename it. I'm going to call it just what it is. This is, what did I search? Back bending ag. That's what I searched, remember? Okay. And so I'm going to rename this new rubric. This is back bending ag. Now, what is the difference between this combined rubric and these groups that we did? Well, this combined rubric represents 146 rubrics. It's not very specific. Let me go back F8, bring up my whole analysis here. This, the group that I've created here allows me to see which individual remedies are in which individual rubrics. But what I'm going for here on clipboard 3 is just a broad net, because I know that in this rubric, back bending aggravates, most certainly this combined rubric, I'm going to find the remedy I want, right? Okay, let's do another couple of those for the other modalities, and then we'll get out of here and I'll take a look at some questions. So the other one was back, and you know what it is? Remember back, so what I did is I just clicked the X to get rid of it. Back aggravates, is it aggravates? Yeah, left. Remember, turning left was so horrible. Let's see what we get. Just vavoom. Let's see what happened. Well, look at that, 84 results. That's not so bad. Let's use that same technique and let's create another combined rubric with back left aggravates. Don't care if it's twisting, lying, or doing whatever. We're just trying to cover our bases. So if I right click again, I'm going to take all the rubrics, create a new combined rubric. Now it says here added to the first free clipboard. So this is going to go onto clipboard 4. And you see it right there. And this was what? Let's just make sure we label this properly so we can see what it is later. Back, left ag. Okay. Combine. Now rename. Now, I wanted to put all those modalities on the same clipboard. So I'm just going to go to this clipboard 4 here. I'm going to grab that rubric with my clipboard and I'm going to, whoops, come on. And I'm going to drag it up and slap it on clipboard 3 where it belongs with my modalities. Okay. If I want to refresh, I'll press my F8 again, and there we have what's happening. So we've got bending aggravates, left aggravates. Looks like I had a typo, but you know what? I can fix that. It says rename combined rubric. Where's my typo? There we go. Okay. So we're going to do the last modality, which was, he said it was better with a warm shower, even though that didn't last, but you know, let's go for it. Back. So I don't want ag anymore. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of left, and I'm going to put warm. Whoops. No, I want warm and male. Okay. Better with a warm shower. Bada bing, bada boom. We're going to make one more of those combined results. Look at that. There's only 33 results. Okay. Fair enough. Let me right click. Let's take all rubrics, combine them. And we have back. Whoops. I don't care if it's warm applications or a warm shower. I don't really care. I just want warm ameliorates. That's my new rubric. Now, again, we want that on clipboard 3, so I'm going to pick it up and drag it over there. Okay. So using my F8 key to display my analysis to date, this is what I've got, 3 Mondo rubrics. And if we look carefully at these, let's just look at clipboard 3 for a minute. These are those Mondo rubrics that we created, where we combined a large number of rubrics into one combined rubric. Out of all of that, how many remedies cover all 3 of those? Well, if we look carefully, we've really only got 9 remedies to choose from, if we assume that our remedy has got to be in that group. Okay, interesting, isn't it? Now I'm going to press and hold the command key. When we add to our analysis the extending clipboard, okay, that was clipboard 2, the extending to the shoulder. Now I've got only 4 remedies that cover the extending plus those 3 group rubrics. And if I put in, of course, my type of pain here at the top, everything kind of gets mucked up again. because I've got a lot of rubrics here to consider. Okay, I'm going to go to your questions just on this Q&A and see. What is the command key on Windows and what is the keystroke for advanced search? Great questions. Let's go back and have a look-see at our thing here. Okay. And it says answer live. Done. Answer live. Done. And done. Okay. If you recall, to open the analysis, the global key here is F8. So this is the function key F8. Now, here's our Mac keyboard. Here's the command key. It's the one right next to your space bar. It says command and option. So command is the one for selecting multiple things. It's also the one you use for copy and paste and such. And then this option is the one I'm using when I want to designate the default clipboards. Now, on the PC, okay, let's go to the chart. I think it's window. So wherever I'm doing command this and command that on my Mac, it's the window key. It's the window key. So it's not in the same place. On the Mac, it's right next to the space bar. On the Windows or the PC keyboard, it should be this one, the one that's got the little window thing on it. Check it out. Give it a try. If I'm wrong, let me know. Not now. Let me know later. Okay, hope that answers your question. I missed how you made a view of one clipboard that combines all three into one. Oh, well, I'm going to show you again right now. I love this. Answer live, done. This is a great way to do the question. Somebody had their head screwed on straight. Okay, here's our case. Let's go back. Okay. I've got all three clipboards displayed right now. Why? Well, if you want to go back to using, the good old-fashioned analysis up here in the top, the big icons, if I click the down arrow, I want to select show current analysis with symptoms and remedies. You see it says here F8. That's that shortcut we were talking about. Now, if I have it showing, it's going to go away. Let's show it. There we go. I can always just use the F8 key on my keyboard. And what that's going to bring up is all of my current clipboards. Now, if I want to say, only look at clipboard 1 and clipboard 3, I've got, if you remember, the command key. As long as I keep my finger on that, I can toggle off. See, I clicked the number 2 and it went away. Toggle on. Okay, I'm going to go to clipboard 1. Toggle off, toggle on. Again, I've just got my finger on that command key. Toggle off, toggle on. The same thing will hold when it comes to selecting rubrics. Let's say I want to select, remember we talked about selecting and grouping things. I'm going to select back tension now, and I also want to select dull pain. As long as I've got my finger on that command key, it allows me to basically toggle on and toggle off. Okay, so play around with that when you have a chance. Now, there's another thing I'd like to introduce before we go to the next part of our case. How are we doing on time? Boy, rock and roll. I think I'm going to have to actually just pull in the previously done analysis that I had. We're doing fine in terms of showing you stuff, but we've only got 30 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get our case at least partway resolved. So the next thing I want to show you is a way that you can very simply manipulate your analysis and the rubrics that you've pulled in. Now, I'm just going to take a look at clipboard 1, and I'm going to say this is excessive. Okay, when it comes to type of pain. Stiffness has got 403 remedies. It's not like I don't want to see what remedies are in the stiffness in the back, but 403, for goodness sake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that rubric just by clicking on it, and you'll notice that it's got one underline. It's include. Okay, so let's pause. Right now, I've got 3 remedies here that have all appear in 7 rubrics. Where are my 7 rubrics? Let's count them. Sorry, I'm backing up here. Okay, I've got 1, 2, this group is 3, this group is 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now here's my back stiffness. I don't really care if that figures into the analysis. So if you Well, find your number keys on your keyboard. I can just type a 0. It's still there, but you notice it's a 0, and now it's not counting in the analysis itself. It's just there for my information. You know what? I might also, and I'm just showing this as an example that I will often do this. I've got a symptom or a modality, for example, that I think is important. But maybe I just want to see it. I don't want it to figure so much in how this analysis plays out. Let's actually, remember our extending group that we have here? I'm going to select all 3 of those, and I'm going to 0 them out. Okay, let's watch what does this do to our analysis when we get rid of the extending modality. Okay, we had 6. First of all, if I 0 them out, I just press the 0 key on my keyboard. Now I've got only 5 rubrics, and look, Russ Talks now popped up to the top because it didn't need, it doesn't appear in any of these. If I think they're important, I might want to have them, I might want to have them have even a higher importance. So if here's a 1, I bring them back into consideration. What if I thought, this is just crucial. I really want this to be at the very top of the pile. I could give them 5 underlines. And that shifts my analysis a little bit. Okay. For the purpose of our discussion here, though, I'm just going to leave them at a grade 1. Okay. I definitely want all of these, but I just felt like maybe my stiffness was a bit much. I could even argue that the dull pain is a bit much. So let's get rid of it. Okay. Now it shifts the way this analysis looks, but we're really not done yet because we've got some other stuff going on in the case. Did I read the rest of the case? Let's see. Okay, we've done with the case example part 1. Oh, now I'm going to skip over a couple pieces of my presentation here. I'm going to go to the second part of this. Okay, we're going to get through this. So the patient continues. Normally, I wouldn't do my repertorization before I'd done the whole case, but I broke this up for the sake of the presentation. Okay, so then he says, also, I had a really bad rash that went away slowly. Uh-oh, rash. Yeah, I don't remember when it started, but it went away on Saturday. He thinks he had it about 2 weeks. Where was the rash? Entire upper body. Says, the rash started the day after we got home from a horse show. I used his dad's deodorant at the horse show. He's 13 and got a bad rash. And then mother put horrible cream on it once. Washed it off. It burned and burned all night long. The cream hurt. This young man is very sensitive to pain. You get a lot of detail, and I've been working with him for a number of years, so he really knows how to report. Hurt horribly. It was awful, and I'm never putting it back on. That's him. And then he says, interesting, the cream did help. The rash was much better, actually. Okay. Uh-oh. Cream on a rash. That gets your hackles up, doesn't it? Okay, so tell me about the rash. It wasn't itchy. The second I touched it, the whole part got itchy and then very painful. Could you see anything? Bumps all over and red and oozed goop. It was clear and itched horribly. So itchy, red bumps with oozing goop. How I eventually got rid of it was I stopped letting it get wet. So mom put on lotion. It kind of got better, but then he really got rid of it. So after a shower, I dried it off right away. It was worse after getting wet or staying moist. Okay, so I've decided now by the time I take this whole case that I'd better do something with this rash that he had a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, because mom put the cream on and yeah. So let me go. First, I got to go in my own little cheat sheet here to, oh, Marci, what did you do? Oh, there they are. Okay, there are my rubrics. So I'm going to shift gears. Now, first thing I'm going to do, remember our new technique here is to get a new default clipboard. Now, my groups of symptoms for the skin, and I'm going to go through this really quickly, okay, so that I don't have to pull in the old case. I have the type of eruptions. I have the modalities for the skin, and then I have something that I'm calling ailments from. Okay, ailments from or etiology is always a good thing if you can get it in an acute, right? So we don't want to ignore that about this rash if we can help it, or the rash and the backache that follows. Okay, because that's the sequence of events here. He had the rash, she put the cream on, he finally got the rash to dry up, and then lo and behold, the back is in pain. Okay. So I'm on my new default clipboard. Let's go to my repertory. And what do I want here? Eruptions type. Okay, so I'm just going to go straight to it. Skin, eruptions, itching. ITCH. There we go. Itching. Enter, enter. There's my itching eruptions. Use the equal sign. It goes right onto that clipboard 4. Now, I'm going to use the backspace key because I'm going to get right back to my navigation window. Backspace one more time, and I've got eruptions discharging, right? There they are. Going to hit my plus key, throw that on that same clipboard there, and then finally, backspace one more time, and I'm just going to put in red, okay? Use my equal key to add it. So here's my type of skin eruption. Again, this is one of those, it's similar to our clipboard 1, where we had some really big rubrics for the type of pain. Now we've got type of eruptions. I just threw a bunch of big stuff on there. Okay. We really care about modalities a bit more, don't we? So let's go and let's get a new clicking option to designate a new fresh default clipboard. Again, the reason I changed the default clipboards is first, it just makes it easier to organize things. And I can use that equal sign. And every time I use the equal, it's going to throw the symptom onto the default clipboard. Okay, so let's go for the skin modalities. And I used skin, eruptions, washing, aggravates. Remember? Okay, here we go. So see the dot? I want that plus. I want that rubric. I really want it. And we're going to do a sidebar here right now. Now's the part of the presentation I felt I had to skip. So if you don't know about these Kunzli dots, this is one of the things I love about the synthesis repertory is the Kunzli dots are there. Okay. Again, in the presentation, if you get the PDF, you will have access to all this information. And I also put a link here so you can read about Joost Kunzli and his repertory and the dots. Let's look at the next slide so you can see the significance of the dots. If the red dot, let's look at the second case here first. If the red dot is entered behind the symptom, this is based on his, not just his clinical experience, but many, many others and his research into historical clinical cases. If you see that red dot, indicates that particular rubric is used in a case. The curative, well, they say the curative remedy is certainly contained within the rubric. Really? Okay, sounds good to me. On the other hand, if you've got dots by remedies, that means the therapeutic efficacy of that remedy has been frequently proven. Okay, so you want to know, when I find a Kunzli dot, I just go, I'm ever so happy. So I took that one, but what I always do, this is just my habit so that I can remember it's a Kunzli dot, is I'm going to highlight that. I usually just give them 3 underlines. So all I did is I highlighted that and it was like this. It was a grade 1. I highlighted it. I just typed a 3. That way I know it's a Kunzli dot. It's going to factor oftentimes into my thinking. So again, the Kunzli dots, you can read about those. We just found that on the first go, didn't we? So what else do we have? Skin, eruptions. He also said touch aggravates. These are tiny rubrics, aren't they? I'm going to go ahead and add it in there using the equal key. Let me go back. Use my back key to the washing aggravates. Yeah, there's no cross-reference here, but you know what? I know enough. Well, let's do one more. Skin eruptions, itching, washing aggravates. See that one? Let's throw that in there. These are tiny rubrics, aren't they? But you know, what one do we often use here? We will generally just go generals, bathing aggravates. Okay. Just to be sure, because this was the thing. Remember, he said the only way he finally got rid of the rash was to dry it up. Okay, so let's have a look-see here at our clipboard. Now, I would argue that General's bathing aggravates pretty much covers everything. On the other hand, here are a bunch of remedies. You'll see this 10 through 14 that are not covered in General's bathing aggravate. So it's kind of a good thing that we got these smaller rubrics in here, isn't it? Okay. Touch aggravates, kind of a tiny rubric. Washing aggravates, kind of tiny. These are only useful really as confirmation. So I can, if I want, just zero them out. They're there. And when we get into our full analysis, I'm going to hit F8. They might actually, now if I got too much stuff on the screen, I have to just fold up the clipboards. They're still there, but see this little arrow? That'll fold them up. See, these rubrics are still here, and I'm still able to see how my remedies perform, but they're not contributing to the analysis. The big one, remember, is our Kunzli dot rubric right here. Okay. So let me take a question. There's a shortcut to add the rubric from the pop-up search area. You know, I'm not sure if there is, but I have to say that for the most, I think there is, and it would probably be the equal. You can experiment or you can look on that chart, but I will tell you that I am not a fan of adding from the navigation window as a rule, unless you really know what you're doing, because once you get into the repertory, you are often going to see things that you would not have seen otherwise. And I'm going to give you an example of that right now. Okay, so answer live done. I want to show you, I'm going to show you an example. And we're going to go to the repertory, Adonis repertory. I'm just trying to think if I have time to do this otherwise. Nah, let's do it. Okay. Let's go to the mind chapter, mind, forsaken feeling. This is my favorite example for this one. We're going to go to the repertory for mind, forsaken feeling. Now, what do you see? Here we have synonyms for, so mind, forsaken feeling is the rubric. It's got 470 remedies. That's a lot, isn't it? These are actually, where you see these synonyms here, these are actually hyperlinked. So I could see here alone, sensation of being alone, for example. If I double click on sensation of being alone, the repertory pops over there. Okay, it's a hyperlink. But then they're telling me delusions alone being, see forsaken feeling. I'll go back to that, see forsaken feeling. So we're back to forsaken feeling. Okay, so you can experiment with these, but you also may want to look at the cross references here. And here's what I want to show you about this. So let's say I know I want forsaken feeling, but I actually want to create a group of rubrics here that will include some of these cross references. Okay, first of all, if I press the space bar, the remedies themselves are going to disappear from my display. Whoops. First of all, the authors come. If I press it again, the remedies disappear. Okay, so it's kind of another one of these toggle. Press the space bar, I get the remedies. Press the space bar, I get remedy and author. Space bar again, and they all go away. Now what I've got is forsaken feeling, and I've got all these cross references. But watch what happens. Remember the command, which allows you to select multiple things? Press and hold my command key, and now say I want to, in addition to forsaken feeling, I want delusions not appreciated. Watch what happens. When I click with my mouse here, gives a little check. How about delusions despised? I'm just randomly picking some stuff. Delusions, you suffered wrong. Boy, what a suffering individual we have here. Now, see how I've selected several things in addition to forsaken feeling? Let's take this whole thing and let us drag that to, I'm just going to use clipboard 12 here because I don't want to muck up our case. And let's look at what happened. Look, the program automatically creates a group. It's a single symptom using all of those cross references along with the original rubric. Okay, Now, I know this is a bit of a roundabout answer to your question. Why do I like you to go to the repertory? Because sometimes I might have thought, oh, it's Forsaken Feeling. And then I go, oh no, the actual rubric I want is Delusions Alone. And so I will make a group like I just showed you, or I might just use that cross-reference and say, this is actually the rubric I wanted. You see? So that's the argument that I like to make for dumping into the repertory before I just slam a bunch of rubrics in. And for every recommendation I make, I'm going to violate it all the time. Because that's just how we do, isn't it? Okay, now this clipboard that we created, something that we don't want, if I right click on the clipboard, I have an option here to clear this clipboard. So let's just get rid of that right now. Okay. Now the last thing I want to do for this first part of this case is I want my ailments from, and that's going to go on the next clipboard here. So I'm going to have 6 clipboards all together. I'm going to option click. So that's my default clipboard, and I'm going to say skin eruptions suppressed. Okay. Oh, here's where I was going to do a group. Oopsie. Okay. General's reaction, lack of, well, it's not really that, is it? His personal history of eruption. I could do this. See, I could press and hold the command key, click that, and it's going to take this stuff all together. Actually, I dragged it in this case. There we go. So there's my etiology for the case. Okay. So let's take a look at our analysis. I'm going to use the F8 key so I can get all of my clipboards here. It's a little hard to get everything in one window here. And if I zoom out, I don't know if that's a little too tiny for everybody, but you know what I want to say? Now's where we're going to start manipulating things just a little bit, okay? Because I've only got a few minutes left. So I'm going to take this, first of all, about the etiology, I'm going to zero that out, okay? It's there, but I'm not going to make it determinant. If I want to make something determinant in this case, yeah, you can make a case for many of these remedies that we see here based on how they perform in the various rubrics. But remember that red dot one? Let's just say I'm in a panic and I just want to stick with Coonsley and his red dot. Remember, I gave that a 3. Let's look at another way. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create this into a filter. In other words, if the remedy does not appear in this rubric, we don't want to think about it. Okay? How do we do that? I'll point to the rubric. I will right click and I'm going to choose under my menu, change qualification to eliminative. You're going to do this all the time. Maybe. Watch what happens. Whoops. There we go. So it turned green. It's got a little dot by it. And notice that every remedy that's available to us now in this analysis appears in that rubric. So it's basically choked everything down to this rubric effectively is controlling our entire analysis, F8. Okay, this can be very useful. Now, I don't want that highlighted anymore. If you got something highlighted you don't want, you can right click and it'll just say unselect all rubrics there. That looks better, doesn't it? Okay, so let's get, you know what? If I assume that this extending to the shoulders business is important, I could narrow things down even further. Let's say I could create a filter or an elimination out of those 3. I've highlighted them. Let's see what happens when I do that. Oh, that really choked it down, didn't it? Maybe I think, I don't really want to choke it down that much. Let's take that clipboard out of the analysis for a moment. I can either I can turn them back to normal by changing qualification to normal, or let's make them a filter again. And if I don't like that, I just can click this X and it's temporary. That rubric is temporarily gone. Want to turn it back on again? I'm going to press and hold my command key, and I want clipboard 2 to come back. So toggle on, toggle off. I have my finger on the command key. Toggle on, toggle off. let's toggle on and toggle off clipboard 5, which is our washing aggravates. Whoops. Okay, you get the idea. I hope that this is making some sense for you. I see that we have merely 10 minutes left. So give me a sec to pop back into our analysis. Okay, here we go. Look, I've got a picture of this thing for you. It may look a little different than what we did, but hopefully not too much. Now, what happened? Okay, let's look at what happened with the case. So I took a dose that was highly effective. What did I get? What did he take a dose of? Sulfur, 30. Okay, why? Primarily the ailments from suppression and all the other stuff. Yeah. I didn't give sulfur because it's top of the list necessarily. I gave sulfur primarily because it's here in my washing aggravates and the ailments for suppressed skin symptoms and so on. And it fits the back really nicely. Okay, so what happened? It was highly effective, says he. Slept really well, was all the way better by Friday night. Now, what do we expect when the suppression is lifted because we gave the sulfur? We hope the rash comes back, right? Voila. Sunday morning, started to get the itchy armpits. Well, we expected that. Inflamed and gooey, really dry and flaky. It burns when I put the arm down. So you can read through this. It cracked and flaked, but it didn't bleed. Discharge clear. It hurt when it touched other parts of the skin. And he continues, my back is very good. Good. So we got halfway there with this thing. A bit sore, but okay when I sleep. He's got some kind of a stuffy nose. And every morning when I wake up, my throat is kind of clogged with mucus and my energy is a little sluggish. What are we going to do? Okay, I'm going to do this. I don't want to take the time to drag it all up because we won't have time to look at the analysis. So I'm going to, remember, want to recall a case, Command R. Whoops. Your current analysis has not been saved. Let's save it just for kicks. Okay. In the demo cases, I'm going to put just today's, I would put like this. This is how I do first, last, today's date, 6/22/23, and I'll say sulfur. Okay. Because that's what I gave. That's how I will save my case. Now, I wanted to recall an analysis, didn't I? This is one that I did back with follow-up part 2. There it is. Let's pull that up. Okay. So what happened was I've got that first case, first part of the case, the first 6 clipboards are there, but now here are the new ones for the new situation. I have my, okay, I'm going to go on my cheat sheet here. My new skin symptoms. These are the new things. Remember, dry eruptions, burning after scratching, cracks and burning on touch. You know what? Let me press and hold the command key. Let's bring back my other skin stuff. They were also itching, discharging, and red. Okay. So I got all my skin stuff. And remember the throat? Mucus in the morning. Okay. Throat mucus in the morning. What's this one? Oh, skin eruptions, burning, touch, etc. So what I did here is I did one of these. I must have done skin, burning, touch. There I got a few rubrics. I right-clicked. I said, take all and create a new rubric on the first free clipboard. Skin, burning, touch. Where is the new one? Oh, it put it on the first free clipboard, which I think is this one. Okay, that was a little tip. There's the one that I just now created. Where did I have it? I had it right here. Okay, put it over there. Skin eruptions, burning, touch, etc. Oh, it's funny because I got a bigger and better one this time. I think it's because I put eruptions before. Yeah. Anyway, that's okay. Now I've got 2 combined rubrics, and the last one I had here, whoops, let's not look at that. That's the big reveal. Okay, so I have my clipboard 8. There's my new kind of skin symptoms. There are my, older original skin symptoms. There's my throat mucus. There's my eruptions, burning. And last but not, okay, so what's happening here? First of all, eruptions dry, eruptions burning, scratching after burning. You know what? Scratching after burning is really kind of, burning after scratching, I should say, is kind of important. So, I might zero a couple of these out just because it feels heavy. There's too much. So I've got, the only ones that are showing now are the discharging eruptions. I mean, they're all here, but the only ones that are factoring in are the discharging, the burning after scratching, and my cracks and burning on touch. Those are tiny. I'm going to just zero them out. They're still there, but I've zeroed them out, so they're not playing into my analysis. And here, these two could actually be combined. So I'm going to group or combine them. I'll just give them a random letter down here in the alphabet, so I know I'm not mucking myself up too badly. And this mucus in the morning, you know what? I'm going to make that a filter, an eliminative. Remember, right click, change qualification to eliminative. Okay, bottom line is, what remedy did I give that cured the whole thing? Last but not least, I'm going to take this final clipboard here, which was talk about etiology, skin eruptions from chemicals. And look at petroleum pop up to the top here. Why? Because that's a tiny rubric, isn't it? Okay, let's go back to our analysis. That's a tiny rubric, but you know what? It did actually nail the case, because after you had a dose of petroleum, then everything went away. So this case, now let's look at the entire thing with the petroleum. So F8, there's everything. Where's my petroleum? Maybe he needed petroleum from the beginning and I just missed it. Look, PETR period. That's going to show me. Oh, come on. Where's my petroleum? Well, there's Perphites. It should have come up. There it is. There's my petroleum. If I right click on petroleum and highlight this remedy, you can see, well, it doesn't have so much of the, it wouldn't have come up, but it certainly came up at the end of the day to fix the second stage of the problem. Now, I do want to show you one last thing because I've just got a couple minutes left. So hopefully you guys can bear with me. Okay. Let us go. This thing is bugging me though. What's it called? Okay, I'm just going to go to my last bit of my case here, which is this one. And I want to show you one other way that you can do a limit or a filter. Now, if I want a remedy that follows well after sulfur with my skin, my new skin symptoms, right? I want a remedy that follows well after sulfur. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, click on sulfur. I'm going to open up my remedy information window. I'm going to go to the families grouping, and I'm going to choose something called related remedies, sulfur followed well by. Do you see that? Okay, pretty quick. You can review this. And then down here in the lower right-hand corner, I can highlight, it says highlight this family in the analysis. And when I do that, I'm now going to have highlighted remedies that, according to a multitude of authors, follow well after sulfur. I could also actually limit rather than highlight, but I just chose to highlight those for you. Okay, now, so anyway, I feel confident with my petroleum, and sure enough, he did really well. And that was the end of that. Until at the end of the day, I think this guy's constitutional remedy is Measarium, because Measarium now has taken care of it. And actually, you can go back and see that it was Measarium probably through and through. Now, I want to show you what's going on, and then I'm going to take the last question. We've got a couple of sales going on this month. Synthesis Adonis. I'm really, really thrilled with this now that I've had a chance to get in here and play around with it. You saw the red dots. I will say I've highlighted some of these other things that I think are extremely, extremely useful. Philippe de Groot's clinical editions are gold, in my opinion. A lot of times I find things previously I was working in the dreams repertory, and I would find clinical editions that would nail a case. These have now been added in Synthesis Adonis. Likewise, for Oak Masters, information is pretty important. And if you use homeopathic families, that's a subject unto itself. But I think it's worth getting the Synthesis Adonis. Likewise, I love this new thematic repertory by Luke Norland. And this first aid guide you might find helpful for your clients. So I want to thank everybody for attending. You've got some contact info here should you need us for any reason. And with that, I'm going to say, what have we got for questions? Do they email the PDF? You know what? I believe that he can email it. If not, it should be posted where the video is posted. Okay, can I tell you again how to zero out? Yeah, I'll show you that. Did I only give one dose of sulfur 30? Yeah, I gave the sulfur 30 one dose, and that was the end of it. Remember, he said, oh, I was better. It went better for a few days. Back was all gone, slept well, everything was fine. And then after a few days, that skin thing came back, which is what we would hope for. And I believe I only gave one dose of petroleum. This is a sensitive guy. Okay. Sometimes I just give him his stuff in water, you know, a pellet, 30C in water and a couple tablespoons. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Yeah. Okay. So how to zero out. I love doing this, you guys. Have me back, do a one-on-one, bring a small group. I'm to zero out. Let's zero out eruptions discharging. I'm going to highlight the rubric, and now I can type any number between 1 and 9. If I type a 9, let's choose a different one. Let's choose eruption. Let's choose skin burning, touch, etc. Here we go. Cracks burning. See this one? If I press 9, it's now got 9 underlines under it. And look what happened. Sarsaparilla popped up to the top. Let's say burning on touch. If I give it 5 underlines, it came up. If I give it 0 underlines, I just type the number 0 and it goes away. Okay. I hope that was useful, everybody. It was so much fun. Further questions, you know how to get a hold of us. Wishing everybody all the very, very best. And yeah, be in touch and do good work. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye. And thanks again for coming.